Hi all, just wanted to chat to everybody just quickly about this Harbour blanket, this cowl that's new for this year. The pattern obviously is by Attic 24. I know some people are struggling a little bit with it, so I just wanted to do a quick video just to show you the basics really, and just things to look out for. As you can see, it's just a nice ripple, nice and easy. It's a standard double crochet stitch if you use US terms, or if you use UK terms, it's a treble crochet. I'm not going to necessarily show you how to do the stitch because I would assume that, you already know how to do that. So all I'm just going to show you is the pattern. As you can see here, if we count them, it's just a pattern repeat of 8. So we've got 2, and then we've got 2 in one stitch, 2 in another stitch, and then 2, and then we skip 2 to start our next mounting, if you like. So I will explain as we go along, and then if anybody's got any questions, obviously please drop them down below and I'll do my very best to help. So this is the last stitch for that set of 8. As we can see there, let's move those out of the way. So we've got 2, 4, 6, we've got 8 stitches. Okay, and then now we're going to create the valley we're going to skip that stitch there, 1. We're going to skip that stitch there, number 2. We're going to work into this 3rd stitch here, which is actually the 2nd stitch of your previous row, if that makes sense. So you skip the one in the middle, you skip the 2nd one, and we're going into this 3rd one here. Okay, so we're just doing our standard double crochet, as I say, for me in US terms, treble crochet for your UK terms. Try not to get confused by that. It is exactly the same stitch, just different terminology. Okay, so that's the first one. Then we're going into the next one across, and we're just doing one double crochet in there. Okay, now on the next stitch, this is where we're going to put 2 stitches into 1. Okay, so we're going to do 1, and then we're going back into that stitch, and we're going to do a 2nd one. Okay, then the next stitch across, we're going to do the same again. So we're going to do 1, and then we're going back into that one to do another one. Okay, that's our 2 doubles. Okay, can you see that? All right, then we're in the next stitch, we're just going to do 1 double crochet on its own, and then in the next stitch, we've got 2 stitches left from the underneath the previous row, we're going to do 1 stitch in there. Okay, and that is your 8 stitch repeat. Okay, I hope that made sense. So we've got 2 on their own, we've got 2 together, 2 together, 2 on their own. Okay, and then obviously, as you can see now, we're going to do our next 8 stitch repeat. So remember what I said, we're going to skip over that stitch, we're going to skip over that stitch, we're going to work into the top of the 3rd stitch. Okay, which is actually, if you look, it's the 2nd stitch in the next from the previous row. It is quite straightforward. Stick with me. Like I say, if you've got any questions, please drop them below and I'll help. Okay, so actually what I want to do is I just want to show you a mistake that I've made on the previous row, which if you look, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've only actually got 7 stitches. Okay, so obviously that means then this row now that I'm trying to complete, I need to add a stitch in basically to keep my stitch count. So I've made a mistake there, but I'm not pulling it all back out. I'm not going to frog it, because to be honest, you're not going to notice it. I don't think anybody's going to sit. I think it's quite a forgiving pattern actually, and nobody's going to sit and think, oh, there's a stitch missing there. You're not going to see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a stitch into this top row to make the stitch count correct. Okay. So obviously you guys won't do this. This is just me, because as I say, I've made a mistake on the previous row. Okay, so obviously, like I say, I've corrected my stitch count because from there, on the previous row, I missed a stitch. So I've just corrected it on the top by adding an extra stitch in. Obviously, you guys won't do that. Take notice of that. That's just for me to correct what I've done wrong. Okay, so we're going to move on to the final 4 stitches now to finish our row. Okay, as you can see, I've got 4 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 5. So we're going to skip the one as we normally do. We're going to skip the next one like we normally do, and we're going to work in the 3rd stitch. Okay, everything is exactly the same. We're just going to finish off the end of the row. So we do 1 in there, okay, and then we do 1 in the next stitch, okay. And obviously, as you can see where my stitch marker is, I do advise using them. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. Do you know what? I think they're invaluable because it's so easy. If that stitch wasn't marked, it's so easy to forget that that's actually there. Okay. So in that very last stitch, all I'm going to do is I'm going to work 2 stitches. Okay. So there's 1. Let's move that out of the way. Okay. And then back into where we've just gone. I'm going to do a 2nd one. All right, so that's 2 stitches in there. So essentially what we've done is we've done half a stitch. Okay, so instead of doing an 8 repeat, we've actually done a 4. So we've got 1, 1, and then a double. All right, and that completes obviously that lovely blue. What is it? Cornish blue. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut that yarn off because we need to change colour. I'm going to go through that with you as well, just in case you're not sure how to change colour. And then all I'm going to do is just pull that through, pull it nice and tight, okay, because I don't want that coming undone. And then I'm just going to turn my work. All right. Right. So the next colour is dandelion. Okay, you can see that dandelion upside down. Okay, now what, again, I always pull from the center. A lot of people say that you can't. Well, I think that you can. So all I'm doing is grabbing the center. Okay, and there she is. All you have to do with the center pull is you just literally feel about in both ends. You'll feel one end is slightly looser inside than the other. One end is slightly looser, and usually the end that's slightly looser, you usually don't need to go too far in. You will find it. It really is that simple. It does take a bit of practice, but it is really simple. So anyway, what we're going to do now, we're going to start in the top of this very end stitch, okay? We're going to put our yarn over the hook, and we're going to draw up a loop, okay? So now we're going to chain up 3, okay? Which is going to class as our first stitch. Pull that just a little bit, tighten it up, okay? Now what I like to do is I like to work this, just end yarn. I just like to work this in the next few stitches just to anchor it down, and then obviously when you go back later on and you sew all your ends in, that gives it a nice, neat, secure finish, okay? So there's our first stitch. Now what we're going to do is, this time, we're going to work 4 stitches again. So we've done 1 in there. We're going to put another stitch in there. We're going straight into the same space that we've just done our chain 3, and we're going to work a double crochet, all right? So that's our 2 stitches. Then obviously we're going to move along to the next one. We're going to do 1 in there. Okay. And then we're moving along to that one. And we're going to work 1 in there. Okay. Now what I like to do before I go any further, oops, I'm going to put my stitch marker so I know exactly what I'm doing when I come to the end. Okay, so in the top of your chain 3, put your stitch marker. There it is. So there's no mistake in then exactly which stitch I've got to work into. All right, so that's the start of the next row. And then all we're going to do, we're just going to continue on from there. We're going to, okay, we can leave that yarn behind now because that's fine. That's secured through a couple of stitches. And we'll, like I say, we'll go back later on and we'll sew these ends in. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to work over the top of that, as we call it, a valley. Okay, so we're going to skip that stitch, and work into that one. Okay, so we do 1 double crochet in there, yeah, and then 1 into the next one, and then into the next one we're going to work 2. Okay, so there's 1, and we're going straight back into there again, and that's 2. Okay, and then the next stitch along we're going to do 2, so we got 1 in there, and we're going straight back in to another one. Okay, and then what we're going to do then, we're going to work another stitch in there, the next one along. Sorry, I'm off the camera a little bit. Then we're going to work another one in there. Okay, and that then, always check every time you've done your 8 stitch repeat, just go back and check, because it saves a lot of aggro later on for you to realise, oh, you've done something wrong. Always check, obviously, that it lines up as it should with the stitches underneath. Okay, they should sit directly on top of each other, and obviously you should always have 8. So essentially what we're checking for is we've got 2, we've got 4, we've got 6, 7, we've got 8. Okay, so that's absolutely great. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to go on to the next set of 8. Okay, so remember, like I say, we're skipping 1, we're skipping 2, we're going into the third one. Okay, and we're just doing 1 stitch in there, 1 stitch in the next one, and in the next stitch we're going to do 2. Okay, it is really, really simple once you get the groove of it. I know sometimes new patterns can appear daunting at first, but actually Lucy is great at creating really easy, simple patterns that all levels can enjoy, something you don't have to think too much about once you get into the swing of it. Okay, like I say, if you've got any questions, anything I can help you with, I will do my best. Please drop them in the comments. Okay, so as you can see now, I've got 1, 2, I've got my double stitch, another double stitch, and then 2 on their own. Okay, so that gives us 8, and that literally is how simple it is. Okay, I'll do another few with you. Okay, so we're going to skip over that next one, skip over that one, and we're going to go into the top of the third one. Okay, and we're just going to do 1 stitch, then in the next one we're doing 1 stitch. Okay, and then in the next stitch we're going to do 2, and it really is that simple. Okay, as you can probably tell, obviously I don't hold my hook and yarn in the traditional way. That's just this way I just find it easiest for me. Again, there is no right or wrong way, you do whatever suits you best. Okay, so that's another 8 repeat. All right, and as you can see, it is sitting directly on top. I hope this has helped to make a little bit more sense if there's anybody that is struggling. Okay, so like I say, we're skipping over the next 2, all right, and we're working into that third one. Okay, It is actually the third stitch, but it's actually the second stitch from your row underneath, if that makes sense. Okay, so we do 2 on its own, and then we do 2 together, right, and then we do another 2 together, and then we're going to do another 2. Where am I? And then we got another 2 on their own. Okay. Okay. Okay, so there we go. So I hope this has helped. Like I say, please shout up if you're still struggling. As you can see, it is a really nice simple repeat, okay? And it's pretty much exactly the same on the back. This is the back, obviously, because this has got all my working ends. So, and also it is a good idea if after every you know, colour change, or even before the next week, try and sew your ends in so you're not left with a mass at the end, because I'm always guilty of that, leaving them till the end, and then I've got mountings to do. Okay, so I hope that has given some of you a bit more of a hand with this Harbour, the Harbour stitch. I hope you found this really helpful. Please leave me some comments if anybody's still stuck, and I'll do my best to help you. Okay, thanks. See you later.